I was just killing time on my phone, scrolling through videos, when I stumbled across one of those man-on-the-street interviews. The caption was something like, "What would you say to yourself from 5 years ago?" In the clip, I saw Elena. She was standing next to her new boyfriend, a young guy named Julian. Her voice was steady and full of warmth. "I would tell the Elena from 5 years ago to meet Julian sooner," she said. The guy next to her grinned, looking pretty pleased with himself, and added, "Me too." The comments section was going crazy. Everyone was saying how perfect they looked together and sending them well wishes. No one watching knew that 5 years ago was actually my wedding day with Elena. Even she seemed to have forgotten that detail. It wasn't until a week later that the algorithm did its thing. Reiko. The same account posted another interview from the street. In this one, I was the one looking right into the lens, my face serious. "If I could go back," I said, "I'd tell my past self, Mark, don't marry Elena, you'll be sorry." This time around, Elena actually saw the video. It was just a regular afternoon when I decided to agree to the divorce. I dialed Elena's number, but Julian answered. "Hello? I'm looking for Elena," I said. "She's in the shower," he said. "Anything you need to say, you can just tell me." His voice had that same careless, arrogant tone he always used, with a hint of ownership and pride. If this had happened in the past, I would have been eaten up with anger. I would have been screaming at him to get lost, demanding he put Elena on the phone, but now? I knew the reality was that Julian was the only one who could actually get her attention. I couldn't let him just hang up on me like he usually did, leaving me to pace around the room like a crazy person. "She mentioned wanting a divorce, right? Tell her I agree," I said, delivering the message calmly. There was a pause on the other end, silence for a second. Then Julian asked again, sounding like he didn't believe me. "You agree to a divorce?" "Yeah." As soon as the word left my mouth, I heard some movement. The phone must have been handed over to Elena. Her voice came through, cool and distant. "It's me, I know." Hearing her voice again, I felt a little dizzy. After all, since she moved out of our place 6 months ago to be with Julian, we hadn't spoken a single word. The last thing she had said to me was, "Mark, let's get a divorce." Bum. If you don't agree, I'll move out and file for it anyway. Now, half a year later, I was finally giving in. "Julian said you want to divorce me?" Elena asked when I didn't say anything immediately. I could tell she was probably frowning, her tone sounding a bit confused. I didn't really get what she was confused about. Wasn't she the one who brought it up in the first place? But honestly, I didn't have the energy to argue with her about who said what first. I just made a noise of agreement. "If you have time, let's meet up and sign the papers." Then I hung up. It was the first time I had ever been the one to hang up on her since I found out she was cheating. Before, it was always me blowing up her phone with calls and texts. I used to curse her out with the worst words I could find, and then beg her with a voice that was raw from yelling. Tantoon. But every time Elena would just say, sounding impatient, "Can you stop acting like a psycho? Talk to me when you've calmed down." Then she would hang up without thinking twice, ignoring my frantic callbacks and messages. I wanted to be calm back then, but whenever I thought about our years together ending like this, I lost it. I wanted to demand an explanation for why she betrayed me. I wanted to beg her to come back, promising I would forgive everything. But all my anger and all my waiting were for nothing. Elena never changed, and I slowly became insecure and paranoid, exactly what she had called me. A psycho. I floated through a long period just feeling numb, trapped in this painful relationship, until 3 days ago. I saw that street interview video by an account called Retro Rewind. The question the guy asked was, "What would you say to yourself from 5 years ago?" Someone said they would study harder. Someone else said they wished they'd spent more time with their family. Another person said their future self from 7 years later was doing great and had lived up to their hopes. And in this string of answers, I saw Elena and her young boyfriend, Julian. That's how I knew it wasn't staged. Given Elena's status now, even famous writers had to book appointments just to see her. This internet guy really did seem to be grabbing people at random, and he just happened to grab Elena. At the start of the clip, Elena seemed annoyed by the interview. It was Julian standing next to her, who looked excited and interested. "This is cool, Elena, let's do it," he said, pulling on her arm, his voice sounding pleading. Elena looked like she was giving up, but went along with it to make him happy. The interviewer gave a quick intro, and then asked his standard question. Julian paused to think. Seeing him struggle, Elena jumped in to answer for him first. "If I could, I'd want the Elena from 5 years ago to have met Julian sooner." She had her arm linked with his as she said it. Her voice was cool, but it was easy to hear the fondness she had for the kid. Julian shot her a surprised look, then added with a self-satisfied grin, "Me too." By the time I saw the video, it already had tons of likes. The comments were full of people gushing. "Damn, they're both good looking. I'd totally ship it. Oh my God, they're like actual soulmates. It's so perfect. There's hope for the rest of us. So sweet. I hope you two last forever." I stared at the video. Stunned. Did Elena love Julian that much? Had she really forgotten? 5 years ago, we had just gotten married. That was when our relationship was at its absolute best. Even though we were broke, we were incredibly happy. And now she was on camera saying she wished she had met Julian back then. I thought I would be furious, beside myself with anger, like I usually was. I expected to grab my phone and start blowing up her line with accusations. If she didn't pick up, I'd smash everything in the house and scream until my throat hurt. But strangely, this time, I just sat there without moving. The comments that should have hurt and provoked me just scrolled past my eyes like meaningless text. Then it felt like something inside my head just clicked off and let go. To my surprise, I realized I felt absolutely nothing about Elena's behavior. Obsession can happen in a second, and so can letting go. And that's what led to my phone call. Elena sent me a message. Against a screen full of red exclamation points from my previously blocked messages, her new text stood out in its simple bubble. Looks like she unblocked me, I thought with a dry smile. Elena told me to come to her office on Monday. Her lawyer would have the agreement ready. Once we both reviewed it, we could sign and wait for the mandatory cooling-off period to pass. On Monday, I went to Elena's company as agreed. Since I didn't have an actual appointment, the receptionist had to call up to get approval. "Yes, a Mr. Weber." After hanging up, she told me to go up to the executive floor where a secretary would meet me. I thanked her and went straight to Elena's floor. A young woman I didn't recognize greeted me. I guess she was a new hire. After all, I hadn't been here in the 6 months since Elena and I separated. "Mr. Weber, please wait here. Miss Ross is in a meeting." She didn't know who I was either. She called me Mr. Weber and led me to a waiting room. I used to go straight to Elena's office to wait. Her meetings always lasted at least an hour. I hate waiting, and she knew it. She used to stock her office with books and movies just for me. "You can read or watch a film. If you get tired, just wait for me in the lounge," she would tell me. The last time I came here, all my things in her office had been replaced. The person who could now freely enter her private lounge was someone else. Now, to see her, I had to wait in a generic reception area. But I wasn't in the mood to argue over something so small. I waited quietly. I had plenty of time. I didn't expect to wait for 2 hours. Still, no one came to get me. "Excuse me, is Miss Ross's meeting over yet?" I couldn't help myself. I went to ask the young woman who had shown me in. She hesitated. "Miss Ross is still in the meeting." I frowned, about to say something, when I heard laughter and chatting coming from down the hall. "Okay, let's go to that new restaurant for lunch." "Sounds good." The voices were unmistakably familiar. I had just heard them on the phone the other night. I saw Julian clutching a folder, walking quickly beside Elena. The handsome young man was beaming, full of life and confidence. Elena had her head tilted slightly, listening to him talk. He must have said something funny because the smile on her lips grew wider. The young assistant saw me walking toward them and didn't have time to stop me. "Elena Nuena." Hearing my voice, they both turned to look. I clearly saw a flash of surprise on Elena's face. I asked her if her meeting was over. If it was, we needed to talk about our situation. I got here at 10. I've been waiting for 2 hours. Who told you I was in a meeting? She asked back, frowning. I was taken aback and looked at her. The confusion in her eyes seemed real. We both figured it out at the same time. I didn't say anything. Elena's gaze swept across the office, heavy and serious. The employees all lowered their heads, not daring to speak. The young woman who had led me to the waiting room shrank back, her head bowed. But just before she did, she shot a quick glance at Julian. Of course. The only person in this office who could pull a stunt like that, throwing their weight around, was Julian. I forgot to tell everyone the meeting was cancelled. It wasn't on purpose. I'm sorry, Miss Ross, Julian said, biting his lip and looking up at Elena with an innocent expression. She had always been easy on him. So this time, too, she just let it go with a single sentence. Come in? She looked at me, brushing the incident aside. As I walked past Julian, I saw the pride and defiance in his eyes. Sit, Elena said, gesturing to a chair as if I were just any other guest. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. I felt uncomfortable and looked away. Where's the agreement? Elena pushed the divorce papers across her desk toward me. As I read through them, her eyes never left my face. We've been together for so many years. I won't be cheap. You can have the car or the house. Take your pick. If you have any other requests, you can make them now. Was this supposed to be payment? The thought flickered through my mind, but didn't slow me down. The settlement Elena offered was more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. She had always been generous and never stingy about these things. This is fine, but I'll take the house I'm living in now, I said. I quickly picked up a pen, signed the document, and handed it to her. Elena seemed to have more to say. I saw her lips part, then close again as I moved. She stared at the papers I was holding out, as if she couldn't believe the whole thing had taken less than 5 minutes. I stood up. There's a 1-month waiting period. I'll contact you in a month. I turned to leave. Mark, is there something else? Don't you have anything you want to say to me? Elena asked, her brow furrowed slightly. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, her tone asking a deeper question. I looked at her confused, but saw that she was serious. I thought for a moment, then asked honestly, At this point, you don't actually expect me to wish you and Julian a lifetime of happiness, do you? I may have let go, but I wasn't that noble. The woman in front of me was speechless. Elena's gaze was like a deep, dark pool, her emotions unreadable. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, I heard her voice again. Mark, in the end, I'm the one who did you wrong. I'll continue to cover your mother's medical expenses. At the mention of my mom, I froze. If there was one person who didn't want Elena and me to divorce, it was my mom. Elena and I started out together when we were 17. In the hardest of times, we would split a single box of takeout, and she would always pick out all the meat for me. In the dead of winter, she'd do delivery gigs on a scooter to save up money. She never spent any of it on herself, but she bought me a ring. It's just a simple band, but one day I'll trade it for a diamond-studded watch. We once lived together in a tiny basement apartment that was only a few dozen square feet. There was no heat in the winter, so we just held each other tight to stay warm. In the summer, it was so hot that Elena would drag me out to sleep in the park. My mom saw all of it. She felt bad for me and sold everything she owned to help Elena start her business. When Elena earned her first real money, she bought a huge downtown condo with climate control. In front of my mom, she swore she would treat me well for the rest of her life. My mom was moved to tears. And all she said was, "You two have to be good to each other." We were once full of hope, believing we had a bright future ahead. But in just 2 or 3 short years, everything had changed. Elena cheated. My mom got cancer. Her treatment cost tens of thousands of dollars a year. If it weren't for Elena's support, I would have lost her long ago. But now, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Thanks, I said, ending the meeting with a polite, distant tone, and walked out the door, As I left Elena's office building, I heard Julian's voice behind me. "Mr. Weber." He walked up to me, making a show of adjusting his tie. "Thank you for letting us be together, for letting Elena go." I saw the bright, winning smile on his face and in his eyes. He looked like a victor gloating over his prize. "Don't mention it. I just hope you don't end up like me," I said with a faint smile, a small warning from someone who's been there. The smile on Julian's face faltered for a second, but quickly returned. "How could I end up like you? You've seen how Elena feels about me, haven't you?" This was clearly one of the victories Julian used to taunt me, and he was obviously very pleased with it. His smile deepened. I looked at him and didn't forget to add, "Then I guess you've forgotten what I did that day. If you can't remember, I don't mind helping you relive it." The color drained from Julian's face. I knew he hadn't forgotten. That night I had stormed into the private room in a blind rage, dragged Julian out of Elena's arms, and before anyone could react, slapped him twice, hard. Then I grabbed him and slammed him down onto the coffee table covered in drinks. "Is this funny?" My fury boiling over, I smashed a wine bottle. Amid the shattering glass, Julian screamed in terror. I held the jagged edge just above his cheek, letting him tremble and shake with fear. No one in the room dared to breathe. In the end, it was Elena who stopped me. She rushed forward, put herself between us, and pushed me aside. Julian, his face pale, hid behind her, looking weak and innocent. "Elena, save me." Anger flared in Elena's eyes. She raised her hand to strike me, but it froze when she saw the raw hatred in my eyes. "Elena, you don't have the guts to hit me, do you?" I did. In the split second she hesitated, I swung my hand and slapped her across the face. I used nearly all my strength. My hand wouldn't stop shaking afterward. That was the beginning of the end for us. After that day, Elena asked for a divorce, moved out of our home, and moved in with Julian. Julian didn't dare provoke me. He knew I was truly dangerous when pushed too far. He shot me a resentful glare. "Let's see how arrogant you are after Elena divorces you." "That's none of your business," I shot back, then turned and walked away. Back home, I started packing. Even though I was keeping the house, I had no intention of staying long. Thinking back on the years Elena and I spent torturing each other, I had been so lost in it all. Now everything in this house just made me feel how broken things had become. I listed the house for sale as quickly as possible and started looking at flights. Elena had given me so much money, I figured I should spend it. I decided to travel for a while and come back when it was time to finalize the divorce. The day before I left, I received a new message. "Hi, Mr. Weber. This is the creator from Retro Rewind. Your interview clip is scheduled to go live this Sunday at 7 p.m. I just wanted to confirm one last time. Are you sure you're okay with this?" I wasn't surprised to see the message. You might not believe this, but the day after I saw the video of Elena and Julian, I was wandering aimlessly down the street when I too was stopped for a random interview. Same influencer, same question. At the time, I thought it was hilarious. A strange, unbelievable twist of fate. I didn't refuse the interview. In fact, as I gave my answer, I couldn't help but wonder, if Elena saw this video, how would she react? "No problem. Post it whenever," I replied. At the same time, I packed my last bag and walked out. Free. After 6 months of separation. It was the first time Elena had received a call from Mark. She assumed he was calling to harass and curse at her again. But to her surprise, Mark had abandoned his usual aggressive behavior. His tone was remarkably calm. "Elena, I agree to the divorce," he told her. Elena frowned instinctively, her first thought being, what divorce? Seeing her confusion, Julian, who was beside her, whispered a reminder. Only then did Elena remember what she had said to Mark when she moved out 6 months ago. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. If you have time, let's meet up and sign the papers." Mark hung up right after he said it. Her doubts deepened, but before she could figure it out, Julian wrapped his arms around her neck. "Did your husband just say he agreed to a divorce? Is that true? That's great! Now no one will be bothering you anymore." Julian was even happier than she was, excitedly leaning into her. Before, the passionate young man would have easily excited her. But now Elena couldn't feel any joy. She had never actually wanted to divorce Mark. She had just said it to scare him. Why had he suddenly given in? Elena couldn't figure it out. But then a thought occurred to her. Could this be another one of Mark's schemes? He was like that. He'd say anything to trick her into coming back. Once he even sent her a message saying his mother was critically ill. She had ignored it. The boy who cried wolf doesn't get a third chance. Convinced Mark was trying to trick her, Elena decided to play along. Besides, she hadn't seen him in 6 months. Since he had called, she could use this as an excuse to go see him. Signed. Elena had her lawyer draw up the divorce papers and texted Mark to come to her office on Monday to sign. One small thing happened during this. When she went to message him, she realized she had blocked him. Their chat history was stuck in a conversation from months ago. Mark had caught her with Julian, and she couldn't even remember what they were doing. All she remembered was Mark going berserk, screaming and shouting at home. She couldn't take it anymore and moved out. But Mark hadn't given up, harassing her daily with texts and long, rambling messages. He was acting like a total psycho. One day he messaged her again. She got halfway through his sentence before blocking him out of sheer annoyance. After unblocking him, Elena was worried he would start his old antics again, but this time he just replied with a simple, "Okay." Strange. Had he really changed? With Mark acting this way twice in a row, Elena found it hard to believe, but also a little sad. Sigh. If only Mark could always be this quiet and calm, not yelling and fighting. She and Mark had been through thick and thin together. They had built everything they had from scratch. Their bond was naturally extraordinary, but Mark was just too selfish, too possessive. Ever since their business took off, it was like he was possessed, forbidding any other man from getting near her. Was that even possible? She was a prominent business owner now. Business dinners and networking were unavoidable. At first, she did reject those other men, but over time, she realized they were all the same. She was just seeking a little breathing room in a suffocating relationship, and she was better than most of them. She only found one, and that was Julian. It was Mark who wouldn't let go, who pushed her further and further away, ultimately forcing her to bring up divorce. If Mark had just turned a blind eye, they never would have reached this point. That's what Elena thought to herself. After all, she and Mark had more than a decade of history. Back then, they would share a single container of takeout. He'd lie and say he wasn't hungry just so she could have a little more. The basement in the summer was like an oven, so hot you couldn't sleep. Mark fanned her all night long. Later, he secretly sold the simple ring she bought him to buy a small electric fan. She and Mark had so many sweet shared memories. Elena couldn't bear to throw them away, and she was sure Mark couldn't let go of them either. Therefore, Tanto, she was certain, this request to meet about a divorce was just another one of his tactics. How could he possibly be willing to divorce her? Elena didn't believe it. It wasn't until she saw Mark on Monday that she realized he was serious about agreeing to the divorce. When Mark called her name, she turned, and her first thought was, it's only been 6 months. How did he get so thin? Mark's face, which used to be a little rounded, now had a sharp, defined jawline. The collarbones visible at his neck made him look frail. Hasn't he been eating properly? Elena frowned with worry, a pang of heartache rising without her meaning to. But before she could ask, Mark said he had been waiting 2 hours for her meeting to end. She hadn't been in a meeting, but she knew who would have told him that. Her first thought wasn't to blame Julian, but to get a good look at Mark. She hadn't seen him in 6 months. Even though he had been difficult, relentlessly wearing down their relationship, Elena still found that he was the one she loved most. This love was different from her love for Julian. Her feelings for Julian were based on his youth, his body, the rush of excitement. But with Mark, it was a love and ache that came from the depths of her soul. We've been together for so many years. I won't be cheap. You can have the car or the house, take your pick. If you have any other requests, you can make them now. While Mark was looking over the agreement, Elena's eyes were fixed on him. She needed to really see him. She used the excuse of offering to meet other requests, secretly hoping his only other request would be to not get divorced. But to her surprise, Mark only asked for the house they used to live in. The entire process was over in less than 5 minutes. Impossible. How could he really be divorcing me? Without any other moves, without any other drama? He must have something else to say to her. Elena stared at him, but until the moment he left, he didn't have a single extra word for her. Was this it for them? Were they really over? Elena couldn't believe it. She held on to the signed divorce agreement, not giving it to the lawyer. That night, Julian prepared a candlelight dinner to celebrate. She looked at his smiling face and just felt irritated and cold. "Elena, so when are we getting married?" Julian asked, resting his chin on his hands with a grin. Before she could answer, he was already lost in daydreams about their wedding. "I'll wear the most handsome suit. And the church has to be filled with flowers." She looked at Julian's sparkling eyes in the candlelight, but all she could think about was her wedding to Mark. Back then, they were just starting out, so poor and struggling. After Mark sold the ring, he didn't have a single nice thing to his name. They spent a few dollars to get their marriage license. That night, they excitedly bought 2 beers and sat by the river singing and drinking. She thought to herself then, "When I get rich, I'm going to give Mark a huge, lavish wedding." But they never got around to it, only managing a quick photo shoot for some wedding pictures. She had squeezed it in during a 30-minute break from work. "We'll see," she said, suddenly losing all interest and cutting Julian off. Julian's expression froze, his smile slowly fading as he stared at her. Feeling agitated, Elena called her best friend and asked her to go out for drinks. "Elena, why didn't you bring your boy toy?" someone asked, confused. Since there was a Mark at home, they all called Julian her boy toy. Elena didn't want to answer. Someone slid up next to her, grinning. "Elena, look what I found. It's you and your boy toy. You guys are trending." Through her blurry vision, Elena saw the phone screen with her and Julian's faces. "Me? I wish the Elena from 5 years ago had met Julian sooner," she heard herself say in the video. What the hell was this? 5 years ago was her wedding day with Mark. They were so in love. Why would she ever have wanted to meet Julian? Elena quickly remembered. It was from a day she took Julian out shopping, and they ran into a street interviewer. She had just said it offhandedly. But the video already had over 100,000 likes and was #1 on the local trending list. If that was the case, wouldn't Mark see it? No, she couldn't let him see it. He would be so angry. Elena's hands trembled as she reached for the phone. "Who posted this? Tell them to take it down, now!" Her shout startled everyone. The person who showed her the video fumbled to contact the creator, but when they clicked on the influencer's profile, they froze. "Elena, he posted another one." The voice was hesitant and careful. "It's your husband. I only found out my video had gone viral after I got back. The Retro Rewind creator messaged me saying he never expected it to get so much attention and have such a big impact. He thanked me and asked if he could interview me again. I didn't reply. I opened my phone and saw it being shared by a clickbait account. Karma comes for cheaters? OMG, it's happening again. Another viral relationship drama." The account's voiceover dramatically recounted the whole story. Last Sunday at 7 p.m., the influencer Retro Rewind posted his latest street interview. On a busy street, he randomly stopped a passerby. "Sir, if you had the chance to talk to yourself from 5 years ago, what would you say?" In the video, the random passerby looked directly into the camera, my voice flat. "If I had the chance, I'd tell my past self, Mark, don't marry Elena. You'll be sorry." The video immediately sparked a massive debate online. "Elena? Why does that name sound so familiar?" "I know, right? I feel like I've heard it somewhere." "Did you guys forget? The couple the creator interviewed last time." "I think the woman was named Elena." After a brief moment of confusion, internet sleuths, smelling gossip, dug up the connection between me and Elena. Once it was confirmed that the Elena I mentioned was the same one who wished she had met Julian 5 years earlier, the internet exploded. Holy shit, it's the same person. This is so dramatic. WTF. I thought they were this pure love couple. Turns out it's a cheating skank in the other man. Met him sooner? Why don't you go die sooner? Did you even think about your husband when you said that? Poor guy, he's the real victim here. Now the comments under her video were filled with attacks and insults. As for me, while it wasn't as intense, my phone was blowing up with messages and calls. Besides the people wanting a front row seat to the drama, there were also mutual friends of mine and Elena's. I ignored them all. The only thing that surprised me was that among the flood of messages and calls, there wasn't a single one from Elena. Strange. I had just publicly blindsided her, and she hadn't made a move. I found it unbelievable until I got a call from my real estate agent. Mr. Weber, we've run into a problem with the sale of your house. Could you come back and handle it? Confused, I booked a flight back. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw the agent who had called me. He looked like he'd seen a savior. Mr. Weber, you're finally back. It's your wife. She heard you were selling the house and is refusing to let it happen. The agent quickly filled me in. I had to laugh. So that's why Elena had been so quiet. She was waiting for me here. I'll handle it. After sending the agent away, I called Elena. She didn't answer, so I went straight to her company. Unlike last time, the receptionist didn't even ask, just waved me upstairs. And the young assistant from before was now bowing respectfully as she escorted me to Elena's office door. Miss Ross is waiting for you inside. I glanced at her, but my gaze wasn't really on her. It passed over her to Julian, who was standing in a corner. He seemed to have been demoted. I remembered from my last few visits that his desk was the closest one to Elena's office. When Julian saw me, he couldn't hide the fury and resentment in his eyes. If looks could kill, I have no doubt I'd be covered in burn holes. I ignored him and pushed the door open. The moment I saw the office layout, I felt a flicker of confusion. All traces of Julian had been scrubbed clean. The room suddenly looked like it did in the very beginning. Elena was sitting in the large chair behind her desk. Framed by the massive floor-to-ceiling window, her slender figure looked tired and defeated. She seemed utterly alone. Well, of course. The recent scandal had caused her company's stock to drop several points. It would be strange if she wasn't stressed. But what did that have to do with me? If I remember correctly, you agreed to give me this house, I said, walking straight toward her and cutting to the chase. Hearing my voice, Elena looked up, her gaze deep and intense. Mark, what did you mean by regret? Her question was completely off topic and left me baffled, but I quickly understood. She was asking about what I said in the video. When the interviewer asked me what I would say to my 5 years ago self, my answer was, Mark, don't marry Elena. You'll be sorry. And 5 years ago, when we got our marriage license, she had asked me with tears in her eyes, Mark, you've suffered so much by marrying me. Do you regret it? My answer then was, never. And now Elena was asking me what my regret meant. You don't understand? I couldn't help but find it ridiculous, my voice calm but sharp. Stung by the mockery on my face, Elena's complexion turned deathly pale. She rose from her chair and walked toward me, each step seeming to take a huge effort. But I never regretted it. Mark, I never regretted marrying you. How could you regret it? You used to say you'd never regret it. Her eyes were red, just like they were 5 years ago. But this time I wasn't going to soften. You said it yourself. That was the past. People change, don't they? That was a lesson Elena herself had taught me. Now that the boomerang had come back to hit her, why couldn't she accept it? Elena looked at me, her eyes filled with hurt. She seemed to be searching for something in my expression, finding nothing. She averted her trembling gaze and asked again. Mark, you're doing all of this because you're still angry, right? You still have feelings for me, so you're saying these things on purpose. You still love me, right? She asked. Right? Twice, her eyes pleading as she watched my face for any reaction. But I remained perfectly calm. In fact, her questions just made me frown. Love? What's that? We were two people who had already signed divorce papers. What love could possibly be left? Oh, I used to love Elena. But didn't she throw that away herself? My eyes were filled with scorn. I didn't, Mark, I didn't. I love you. Saying I wanted a divorce was just something I said in anger. I never wanted to divorce you, Elena argued loudly. She suddenly wrapped her arms around me in a tight hug, repeating it over and over. She was desperate for a response from me. After all, every hug we used to share was powerful and mutual. But ever since she got with Julian, I couldn't even remember the last time we'd hugged. Elena got no response. She let go, only to see my cold, indifferent expression. Panic set in. Her hands gripping my shoulders were trembling and slick with sweat. Mark, you can't divorce me. If you dare divorce me, you won't get a single penny. And your mother, I won't give the hospital another cent. She'll die. Elena threatened me. She tried to sound fierce and cold, but the shaking in her voice gave away her panic. I looked up, my gaze calm and cool, straight into her eyes. Elena, you didn't know, did you? My mother passed away. During our separation, I sent you a message. You blocked me before I could even finish typing. Elena, your threats mean nothing to me. If I cared about money, I would have never been with you when you had nothing. But I was still filled with a deep, bitter resentment. She had forgotten our love. She had forgotten how my mother treated her like her own daughter. Elena hadn't just wronged me. She had wronged my mother. The office was dead silent. I watched as Elena's already pale face turned gray. The emotions in her eyes seemed to freeze over. Shock, disbelief, total lack of understanding. A complex mix of feelings swirled within them. How could that be? She whispered. I reminded her, you haven't been to see her in 2 years. Of course you wouldn't know. Poor Mom. She was still whispering my name as she passed. And all I could do was hold back my tears and lie, telling her Elena was busy with work and would come see her as soon as she was done. My mother's death wasn't an accident. She had simply run out of time, beyond any medical help. I was the one who signed the papers to stop treatment. I held her hand and watched her slip into a peaceful sleep from which she never woke. I handled all the arrangements myself, calmly. After it was all over, I happened to see that video of Elena and Julian. The truth is, I had wanted to divorce Elena for a long time. I couldn't stand watching myself turn into a madman, trapped in a toxic relationship. My mother's death was the final straw. Oh, Elena, how could you possibly know? From the day you made your mistake and refused to turn back, the clock had already started ticking down on us. Elena swayed violently, stumbling back a couple of steps, nearly falling. I looked at her and didn't forget to add, if you have any conscience left, just let me go. Being with you now, every minute, every second, is suffocating. I left Elena's office. The conversation had not been pleasant. The heavy atmosphere seemed to have leaked out through the cracks in the door. When I came out, everyone was holding their breath, wishing they could disappear into the floor. The only one who dared to make a sound was Julian. Furious, he followed me, catching up in a few steps. Mark, you bastard, are you happy now? What good did destroying Elena do for you? He demanded, his voice filled with indignation and a sense of injustice. His voice was just noise to me. Smack! I slapped him across the face. You idiot. If you had any real game, you would have gotten her to divorce me sooner. Then she wouldn't be branded a cheater and a terrible person, I sneered. Julian clutched his face. I reminded him. And another thing. Show some respect when you talk to me. After all, I'm not divorced from Elena yet. Be careful, or I might just ask her to get back all the money she spent on you. She would never. Given the current situation, you want to test that theory. My specialty was making people angry without giving them an inch. Julian was furious but speechless, only able to glare at me as I walked away. Without Elena interfering, my house sold quickly. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but the day the house sale closed was the exact day our divorce waiting period ended. After that confrontation with Elena, I had expected her to pull some other stunt to avoid the divorce. To my surprise, she actually showed up at the municipal building. We got our divorce certificates without any trouble. Immediately after, I rushed to the house to sign the sales contract. With 2 major things settled so smoothly, my mood finally lifted. But no sooner had I left than the agent called me again. Mr. Weber, this might be unprofessional, but I feel like I should tell you something. What is it? Your wife. Oh, I mean your ex-wife. Showed up right after you left. She was begging the new owner, the client who just bought my house, to sell it back to her. He refused. Now Elena is harassing him. Annoyed, I drove back to the house. I arrived just in time to see Elena snatching something from a cleaner's hands. The new owner was gone. The agent sighed. Mr. Weber, you're too late. Your ex-wife was willing to pay triple the price to buy it back. Whatever. The house wasn't mine anymore. If one was willing to sell and the other was willing to pay, it was none of my business. But just then, I saw what Elena had grabbed from the cleaner. It was the wedding portrait we had taken together. Elena! Mark! Elena's eyes lit up when she saw me. Look, I bought the house back, and I'll find all our old things, she said eagerly, showing it to me. But before she could finish, the car key in my hand was already slicing across the photo behind her. Scrape! I tore my own picture out of the frame. Elena's eyes widened in shock, her face turning pale. She looked at me with such pain and sorrow that her eyes instantly reddened, and tears streamed down her face. My expression was cold. I saw the reflection of the scene in the glass of the villa's windows, and felt a sudden sense of déjà vu. Of course it was familiar. Once upon a time, I was the one so humbly begging Elena to come back. And now, what goes around comes around. Karma is real. Don't flatter yourself. Elena, this act of yours just disgusts me. Can't you just leave me alone? After that day, my life returned to normal. It was lonely being on my own, but pulling myself out of the past was like a thick bank of clouds parting in an instant, revealing a clear sky. Every day was bright and sunny. A week later, I saw Elena one more time. It was at a bar. After the divorce, she started drinking day and night. Our mutual friends started calling and texting me, trying to get us back together. I blocked every single one of them. Finally, the world was quiet. That chance encounter. Elena was drinking again. Julian suddenly appeared. Elena, he cried, rushing to support the drunken woman. I've been looking everywhere for you. Where have you been? I was so scared, you know? Julian's voice choked with sobs. Don't keep doing this to yourself over that man. He's not worth it. Elena, let's go home. You still have me. Get lost! Elena shoved him away forcefully. He's my husband. He's the only one I want. What am I supposed to do with you, the other man? I don't know which word set Julian off, but he froze in place, his face a mask of disbelief. That was the last time I ever saw either of them. Later, I heard that Elena had fired Julian. Not only that, but she also sued to get back every penny she had ever spent on him. Julian, who never expected Elena to be so ruthless, left town in a bitter rage. 3 months later, I got a call from the police asking me to identify a body. They said a murder had taken place in the villa I used to own. The deceased were my ex-wife and Julian. Elena had no parents, no family. The only person in the world she had a close connection with was me. Hearing the news, I felt a flicker of surprise and a strange sense of resignation. But in the end, I went and handled her final affairs. Afterward, I scattered her ashes into the mountains and the sea, leaving no trace behind.
Oh. Oh. Hey, how you doing tonight, baby?
What's up, my guy?
First time talking to you. This is crazy.
I know, I don't even know what to say.
Just pull your wiener out.
At least buy me a steak first, damn.
Nope. Nope. Wiener out first, then steak.
Oh, man. I think my job's done for the day.
What do you do for work?
Supervisor.
Yeah, but for like what?
We... lo-
Oh. Go ahead. Lead? No. And he's in the winter rest.
Okay, you guys want to know a real moment of clarity of questioning life choices is when you have
You're on
to
the right path.
pull your buns up to see where you're peeing.
How many rolls did you pull up?
I pulled these buns up so high, like a bib.
Holy fuck, it's 4.
It is.
Me, John. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna give you one solid game. Me and you in the heli. And then I'm done. I need sleep. I slept probably 18 hours the other day.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
That sounds so
I
good.
woke up at 5, dude. I went to bed at 4, woke up at 5 p.m. Ended up taking a nap at like 6 to fucking 9.
I'm jelly.
I don't know how many hours that is, but bear with me.
I have too many responsibilities that keep me from doing that. It sucks.
Well, I'll tell you what, I woke up after that last nap just miserable. It was too much sleep.
Yeah, but some like that's your body telling you